America has no shortage of immigrant stories. Stories of financial woe and discrimination are sadly part of many families' histories. But it takes a true skill, a love of storytelling, some determination, and a little bit of luck to tell a tragic tale beautifully. This is the story of a CUNY graduate who became a Pulitzer Prize winner and his astonishing and unlikely rise out of the ashes.
When I look back on my childhood, I wonder how I survived it all. It was, of course, a miserable childhood. The happy childhood is hardly worth your while. Worse than the ordinary miserable childhood is the miserable Irish childhood, and worse yet is the miserable Irish Catholic childhood.
But Ireland is not where this story begins. Frank McCourt was born in Brooklyn, New York on August 19, 1930, 9 months after his Irish immigrant parents met at a local party. Father Malachy and Mother Angela were married in time to avoid scandal. Malachy was prone to drink and fantasy. Angela was a pious woman, but was often conflicted by the realities of immigrant life in America. After Frank, a younger brother, twin boys, and a baby sister followed in swift order. Hampered by his love of drink and the continued stigmatization of Irish immigrants over stereotypes he sadly lived up to, Malachy Sr. was rarely employed. The Great Depression raged on, and the family of 7 sadly became a family of 6 when Frank's youngest sister passed away less than a month after her birth. This tragic event scarred the entire family, especially Frank's mother, Angela. The McCourts were desperate for a better life and decided to do the unthinkable. They moved back to Ireland.
We must have been the only Irish family in history to be saying goodbye to the Statue of Liberty instead of hello.
For better or worse, and mostly worse, life back in Ireland started the churning of story in Frank's head that he would hold on to and build upon for the rest of his life. Settled in Angela's hometown of Limerick, their situation saw no improvement. McCourt Sr., when employed, drank away his wages and was again stigmatized over his Northern Irish accent, which was taboo in this southern town. Whether in Brooklyn or Ireland, the McCourts were always outsiders. The poverty was crippling, and the twins didn't survive, and the McCourts were barely holding on.
My father, by day, when he wasn't drinking, was the perfect father. When he get money, then he was a maniac. It was 2 different men.
Though a failure as a parent, Malachy Sr. instilled in his children a love of story and poetry. When home and sober, the boys enjoyed his songs of Irish heroes during morning tea, and was entertainment that took them, though briefly, out of their situation. In a pivotal, though near-tragic moment, 10-year-old Frank contracted typhoid fever and was sent to a hospital where for the first time he was given adequate food, clean sheets, and most importantly, books. The books were the greatest luxury for young Frank. He found the words a beautiful escape and got to read Shakespeare for the first time.
And it's like having jewels in my mouth when I say the words.
If I had a whole book of Shakespeare, they could keep me in the hospital for a year.
When you have nothing, little things become very precious, like books. There was an occasional book came into our house, and we just devoured it.
When Frank was 11 years old, World War II was in full swing. His father left for London, where labor was needed, as the men of England were off fighting. As Dad disappeared over the horizon, so did the promises of money sent home and a better future. The elder McCourt never returned. Angela and the children were left to attempt survival in absolute squalor. And the church was no help. At 13, Frank was rejected from the Christian Brothers School, and being the oldest, was forced to work in order to help the family. He got a job as a delivery boy and helped out a local debt collector who heard his talent for words. She had him write collection letters that were a success, and for the first time, Frank was validated for his mental acuity. Having always felt the outsider, that recognition fueled his desire for a better life, which for Frank meant a return to America. He saved whatever he didn't give to Angela, and by the age of 19, finally had enough for a ticket on a cheap freighter back to New York. On the voyage back, Frank met a priest who got him a room and a job at the Biltmore Hotel. McCourt sent half his pay home and eked out a meager existence in New York City. Just as his youthful pilgrimage back to Ireland for better circumstances backfired, Frank's return to New York did little to improve his situation.
I was liberated by the Chinese who attacked Korea, and America drafted me, sent me to Germany for 2 years. So I don't know what I would have done if the Chinese hadn't attacked Korea. I'm a victim of history in Ireland, and I'm a beneficiary of history in America.
Back in New York after the war, though armed with the GI Bill, he lacked the one remaining thing needed to go to college, a high school diploma. After a slow day packing meat on the docks, he found himself at the White Horse Tavern. The White Horse was a gathering place for literary types, and where writer Dylan Thomas famously took his last fateful drink. Over sausage and a beer, Frank was jealous of the other customers and had a heavy head about his place in the world.
I shouldn't be in this bar with poets and artists all sitting there with their serious, whispered conversations. I'll walk out the door across Hudson Street, along Bleecker Street, not knowing where I'm going, but knowing I have to keep walking till I know where I'm going. And here I am in Washington Square, and there's New York University. And I know that's where I have to go with my GI Bill, high school or no high school.
He found the admissions office and filled out the application. When asked why the section for high school was empty, he was honest, but also dazzled the dean with his knowledge of Melville, Dostoevsky, Joyce, and of course, Shakespeare. The dean agreed to allow him admission with the condition that he maintain a B average. McCourt did not disappoint, and in fact, excelled. After graduating with a degree in English, the man who never went to high school began teaching high school in the city's vocational system. McCourt's hunger for education continued, and after several years, earned a master's degree from CUNY's Brooklyn College. The irony of earning an advanced degree in the borough where he was born into absolute poverty was not lost on McCourt. Armed with an advanced degree, he moved on to teach English at the prestigious Stuyvesant High School for the remainder of his career as an educator.
I still was never one of the boys. I was never one of the boys in Ireland. I was never one of the boys in the army, and I was always on the periphery. The only place that I felt completely comfortable was in the classroom.
Years earlier, Frank's younger brother, Malachi Jr., had followed Frank to New York. The more gregarious sibling ended up as an actor and radio host, and consistently encouraged his literary older brother to write the story of their childhood. But Frank never got around to it. It took many years, and a career spent in education, when Frank finally decided to heed his little brother's demands.
You have to get the rhythms, and you have to, above all, find the voice. And it took me all those years, not till I retired. But I had the material. That's the main thing. The material was circling around my head and lying there in my notebooks, waiting to be tapped.
Frank's memoir, Angela's Ashes, went on to become an international success, staying on the New York Times bestseller list for 115 weeks. It won Frank the Pulitzer Prize for biography in 1997 and was made into a feature film. 2 more books followed, picking up where Angela's Ashes left off. Tis, about his return to America, and Teacher Man, chronicling his years as an educator. This unlikely child of poverty turned soldier, student, teacher, and now world-renowned author was finally able to write the book, because through it all, though humble and more than a little unsure, Frank had never closed the door on what was possible.
This is their last high school class and mine. The bell rings and they sprinkle me with confetti. I'm told to have a good life. I wish them the same. I walk colour-speckled along the hallway. Someone calls, "Hey, Mr. McCourt, you should write a book." I'll try.